GABDOS. The name of the game is GABDOS. Game ain't based on sympathy. If you got sympathy in this spot, you ain't gonna never make it. You gonna never make it.
Hello and welcome back to a very special segment here on GABDOS Sports. The North London Derby is coming up, and with that, I had to get my favorite Spurs fan I know, a lifelong fan, a lifelong Spurs fan who has endured unbearable torture throughout our time together. The one, the only, Mr. Manny in the building. What's up, Manny?
Yes, bro. Good to see you as always, man. I was watching the show on, I think it was Monday. I don't think you were on that episode, but I already saw the predictions of the other lads. So, yeah, man, good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, listen, man, I also obviously copped a lot of stick from the boys for not showing up after an Arsenal loss. So I thought I better get in front of the camera for this one. Probably an North London derby where I think it's an absolute must-win for both sides. I don't know what you think, man, but fill us in on what your experience has been this season watching Spurs and you know, I guess your thoughts about the game.
Yeah, man. In terms of watching Spurs this season, it's been a real roller coaster. We seem to have sort of a set way of playing, which is the Ange ball of attack. And it seems that teams have figured it out now, you know, and we've been caught out time and time again in the league. If you can kind of just minimize our attacking options, we can't really break a team down. So it's been a frustrating season in the league. But I guess what's still promising for us guys is, you know, we're still in for a shout in the Europa League to get through automatically. That Liverpool result was huge. I felt it could be a turning point for confidence. And FA Cup, you know, it wasn't glamorous, but we got through. We got through it. So yeah, my thoughts on kind of Spurs this season is they're unpredictable. I don't know what Spurs will turn up. We beat United 3-0 away, City 4-0 away, but we also, you know, lost a 2-0 lead at Brighton. We lost at home. So yeah, man, it's gonna be an interesting game with the form you guys are in. But it's a difficult one because of Arteta's record against Ange is quite good actually. I think we drew against you guys at the start of his reign in the Premier League. I think we drew 2-2 at the Emirates. But then you beat us away.
That was a painful game.
Yeah, that game was right at the beginning, is when we had sort of that run of 10 games where we won 9. But at the end of last season, we got destroyed at home. And then this season as well, we got outplayed at home. So it seems like that's my concern, is has Arteta also worked out Ange, and will you just be patient enough to, you know, just kind of counter us basically?
And I wanted to ask you a question. I mean, obviously, there's a massive injury crisis on both sides. I'd obviously say that Spurs are having the worst end of that stick. One clean sheet in the last 13 matches in all competitions, and that was against Spurs right before I think they sacked Russell. And I think it's also, if I'm not mistaken, one win from the last 8, which was also that Southampton game. Some Spurs fans after certain performances have been very, very critical, especially at the ground, you know, post a no-clue chance and all this sort of stuff. I want to get, I guess, your thoughts on the manager, his job security. You know, can a lot of this stuff just be chalked away to the injury crisis, or is there something much deeper in terms of how stubborn he is with his tactics in what is kind of a very dynamic league when it comes to adjusting to managers and figuring out what their traits are?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think for me, he's a very stubborn manager. He has a philosophy that he sticks to. He doesn't really seem to let outside influences get in the way of that. And the way we play football, Van de Ven especially, has been a huge loss at the back. We lost Vicario, so we had no keeper to play out as he wants. which has just been resolved with Kinski, who's looked decent in 2 games. So definitely that back line, we've missed the pace and that ability to get back in shape. Midfield-wise, I think we definitely missed Bentancur during that ban he had. And we still not elite in midfield, like people like Maddison, Sarr, Basuma, decent players on their day, but inconsistent. And attacking wise, we've had real issues. Solanke's been good, but outside of that, Son's had a poor season. He's not looking the same. And we don't really have a good option in terms of a winger. Like Werner's not great. Probably Kulusevski is a standout player of the season for me, for Spurs this season. So I understand the frustration of Spurs fans, but at the same time, I think sometimes Spurs fans can be a bit delusional. Like, what are we expecting exactly here? Like getting Ange out, I don't see what that would benefit. We were complaining about negative football under Mourinho and Conte. Now we've got the attacking football. Like Gary Neville's said, we're the most exciting team to watch. I want to give it a bit of patience. I think give it to the summer, give him another transfer window, and I want to see where this journey takes us. I think I fear for him if we get knocked out early in the FA Cup and get embarrassed at Anfield in the League Cup.
Yeah.
In that case, then it could get sticky for him because our league form is nowhere near what Levy expects, which is normally top 6. Yeah. And in terms of Europa as well, if we don't get through the Europa, at least to maybe the quarterfinals, it could cause issues. But I want to stick by him. I don't want to be Ange out at all. But he's definitely been annoying. Like, when we got these injuries, he should have adapted his tactics to consider, we can't play like that, be pragmatic. But listen, it's just who we are, mate. And as Ange says, it's how we can approach.
So we are, mate. Can't change it. Yeah. It's who we are, mate. Look, I mean, I think, I wanted to get your perspective of things because obviously you're one of the rational Spurs fans, I would call you.
I think a lot of Spurs fans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know what the expectations, where they come from. Like, how do we expect to be challenging from titles? And, it doesn't make sense based on what we've seen over the years.
I think what it comes down to, and maybe this is where I have a little bit of sympathy for them because we've kind of gone through the exact same thing, is that, it's such an expensive season ticket. It's such a nice stadium. The fans kind of pay through the nose for the experience. And then when the experience is, historically underwhelmed, season after season, year after year, decade after decade, it kind of feels like a bit of a breaking point. That's why this time I feel like probably since Conte, the gun has been turned more on Levy than the manager. I mean, I guess the manager's position eventually becomes untenable, but I think anyone with a pair of eyes can tell you that Daniel Levy is the problem. And it's just owners being content with, the value they currently extract from the fan base, from the TV revenue and all the rest of it, not driving them to go the extra mile to win a title. But with that being said, I get the feeling that maybe not the North London derby, but the fixture at Anfield. I mean, if you're able to get into a Carabao Cup final against most likely, almost certainly Newcastle, then it becomes the movable object versus the stoppable force, and Spurs have got a legit shout of being able to lift the trophy in Ange's second season, just like he promised. And all of a sudden, that has almost a transformative effect on the whole club as a whole, right? So, I think that looming in the shadow is probably going to be what leads to maybe the approach he takes. I mean, he'd be insane in my mind to risk the likes of Maddison, risk the likes of Kulu, even remotely risking an injury against Arsenal in a game that really doesn't. His best bet into Europe is going to be through a cup, right? For me. So
yeah, where we are in the league.
I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think Levy, I can't stand Levy. I haven't been a fan of him for decades. I know he's done a lot for the club commercially, But in terms of the football side of it, there's no ambition there. And I guess that's where I mentioned that Spurs fans are delusional because of the ownership we have. I don't know what they expect from managers. We kind of tie the hands behind managers' backs. Like with Pochettino, we didn't give him that push. Mourinho, we all know who Mourinho is. If you want to get him in, then spend the money. Conte did a great job at kind of just crucifying the board before he left. I thought he exposed a lot there. And I guess suppose for me, that's where maybe I'm a bit more realistic with what we can achieve. But when it comes to Spurs in this fixture, the North London derby, I think it's not going to be a make or break game at all in terms of Ange in or Ange out. I think that will come later in the next few weeks with the Europa League campaign and Anfield at the start of February. I think for us, we just can't get embarrassed tomorrow. That's very important in terms of pressure on Ange. And that has happened to us a few times this season where we've got completely outplayed. So I want to see a strong performance. I want to see some fight and ambition. It's a notoriously terrible ground for us. I think we've only won once there since the Emirates opened, and that wasn't in the Premier League. That was in the League Cup. So we haven't won there in the Premier League.
The Danny Rose rocket.
No, that was a Dele Alli. Dele Alli got the winner.
Right.
I think it was a League Cup. I'm pretty sure it was in the Premier League. And if we go back to Highbury, I'm pretty sure Spurs haven't won at Highbury in the Premier League. So I could be wrong, but I think we haven't beaten you in the Premier League away. That's just shocking in itself.
I mean, look, I'd have to double check the stats on. I mean, that is an absolutely outrageous stat if true. I do believe that. I think for Arsenal, just speaking from an Arsenal perspective, this fixture has kind of come at the perfect time because obviously the mood is at a real low. I mean, it hasn't been this low probably for about 2.5 seasons since the end of the year where we missed out on Champions League to you guys at Newcastle.
Oh, yeah, that's probably the lowest. Yeah, that was a.
Yeah, I remember. I remember the messages, man, and I think since then, I mean, this is probably the lowest ebb that we've been in, and having a Spurs side coming off, going into extra time with Tamworth and just having a real kind of life and death punch up with them is like you could have been asked for a better fixture to come along with this period of time, just to kind of get things back rolling. We've got our own problems, don't get me wrong, both in terms of injuries to the front line, more so than the back line with you guys. And so, in what has been, I think it's either Arsenal versus Liverpool or Arsenal versus Spurs are always kind of exchanging first and second place for the highest scoring fixture in league history. I get the feeling that it's going to be hopefully a similar kind of a game, right? Arsenal kind of need a light touch in defense. If Ange doesn't make an exception for this one, just tell the boys to sit back and soak up the pressure. They can't finish, yada yada yada. If he goes in with that gung ho approach again, and we find our scoring boots, it could potentially get embarrassing.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, like you said, you've got a few standout players. Madison always kind of can turn it on. Kulu's been unbelievable in the 10 this season, especially in Madison's absence. I think kind of being away from the touchline, having more of the pitch to use when it comes to his passing range and his kind of creativity has been quality. Solanke's kind of adapted really well. Brendan Johnson, has had purple patches here and there, but bro, Timo Werner has got to go down as one of the worst signings in Spurs history for me. That guy.
Oh man,
what happened to him, bro?
He's completely lost his confidence, and I'm pleased to say he's injured tomorrow. He got injured against Tamworth, so we don't have to deal with him in the starting lineup. But yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of our tactics tomorrow, I can't see a way where we don't try to play out from the back. We do that every game. This new keeper looks decent with his feet, so that'll be interesting to see how you press us. You will get chances. I think away from home in the Premier League, apart from that Southampton game, we haven't kept a clean sheet. We don't have a great away record. The only thing for you guys to be kind of wary of is we do score goals quite often. So we will get our chances as well the way we play. But yeah, a key battle I think is going to be in the midfield, really, like who kind of controls that. I would rather not see Partey in your midfield. I hope he plays right back. That would help us out. If you play Partey in the middle, it's going to be a hard one for Basuma especially.
Listen, man, he's got challenges of his own, Mr. Thomas Partey, off the pitch. But I think there's no denying that in the central midfield slot, he's been one of our better performers this season. I think in terms of our front line, it's kind of pretty set in stone. We're probably going to play Havertz in the 9 again. We're probably going to play with Jesus now having a confirmed ACL. We're probably going to play Raheem Sterling, who actually was relatively decent against Man United. And then we're more than likely going to start Martinelli again because Trossard is just, his head's completely gone. In midfield, Odegaard, I mean, he was probably the shining star against United. If it were for having a decent striker, we would have definitely won that game, in my humble opinion. But
yeah, I think that's something to be said there about your team. That you've lost to Newcastle and Man United, but the way those teams set up is kind of exactly what makes it difficult for Arsenal. Like look at Ipswich as well. It's when teams kind of drop deep and do that kind of counter-attack style. You can't break a team 100%. Down. But I think against Spurs, because of the way we play, that won't really be a factor for you guys. Like I don't see you struggling to need to worry about breaking us down. It would surprise me a lot if Ange did sit back in this game, just based on his philosophy. So I suppose it will now really be a pressure on Kai Havertz because he will get his chances, but will he take them now, or how low is his confidence?
Well, I think this is really a make or break game, man. I think, having a big performance in the North London derby has salvaged many careers at Arsenal, many careers at Spurs as well. Showing up big in these kind of games definitely helps buy you some patience with the fans. And if there's anybody who needs a little bit more patience, it's definitely that guy. I mean, I think Arteta and Ange are both very, very stubborn in slightly different ways. Arteta's a lot more tactically flexible. Obviously, he started with a 3 at the back when he first joined, and has pivoted to his current formation, sort of more of a 4-3-3. But I think in terms of personnel and making sure that the guys he wants play, he's becoming quite notorious for that, and both his as well as that as his in-game management and everything that goes along with it. With that being said, I don't want to have been reasonable and sensible this whole way through, but I've got to say, man, I can't see anything other than a fairly convincing Arsenal win, only because of the way that Spurs play. I'm not particularly backing Arsenal here. I just think that Ange is incapable of understanding, that he has to be pragmatic. He has to change it up a bit, and I think that's going to cost him once again.
I mean, I can totally see where you're coming from there. It's our historical record at the ground. It's the Ange factor of not being pragmatic. I guess my concern in this game is I see us scoring, but I don't see us stopping you scoring. And that's going to be the real key here is if we can get the early goal, how badly are your heads gone? How does the atmosphere turn toxic? That's what we need as Spurs. We need your fans to create a toxic atmosphere and kind of then get that second somehow. And then, you'll get your chances, but just have an off day. But yeah, realistically, I also fear a comfortable Arsenal win. And I fear a bit of anger in the performance from Arsenal. I fear they want to hurt us because of recent results. They want to make a statement. So but it's a derby, you know, form goes out the window. Look
Oh,
at it's crazy results in the past in this game. Like, you know, when under Pochettino, when Spurs were really good, we just couldn't. Mustafi would turn into a beast in this one game. You know? we couldn't get past Arsenal. It didn't make any sense, but we just got outplayed. It wasn't even we'd get beaten; we'd get outplayed in that one game under Pochettino. And then for the rest of the season, we were just really good. So yeah, psychologically, I need us to be clinical and then defend well, like better than I've seen. I don't see any evidence we can defend how we need to away from home at the moment. Because even the City game when we won 4-0, do you remember how Haaland missed a few sitters? Like that result was misleading.
I don't know about misleading. I would definitely say in terms of I think you rode your luck out, and I think, you know, Spurs have historically gotten the better of, in recent times, especially under Pep, the better of City. So it's just kind of like sometimes, you know, it's inexplicable. Sometimes it's just the way that certain teams feel playing against a certain type of opposition, and I feel like we always get the rub of the green against Spurs. But like you said, I mean, look, I think more often than not, especially at the Emirates, the side that goes on to score first rarely ever wins. It's one of those games. I don't know if you go through all the fixtures, whether it's Adebayor scoring for Spurs or, you know, however many different games you've had. It's one of those games where, you know, it just kind of marinates very, very nicely. I hope we'll get a referee who will let the game flow. There's a few players, I mean, like I said, in the Spurs lineup that I really like the look. I mean, I predicted pre-season, it's on the page for posterity, that Archie Gray was going to be my my young player of the year award shout. I think he's kind of gone a little bit under the radar considering the results. But whenever I watch that guy play, man, I mean, the versatility, the maturity for his age, he kind of played almost centre back against Tamworth, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's been playing centre back since Van de Ven and Romero are out, and he's a midfielder. So he's been doing really well in a position at that age that he shouldn't really be in.
I totally agree, man. I think he's a star in the making, that guy, man. Definitely somebody who is going to be getting international call-ups sooner rather than later. To wrap up, Mr. Manny, I've got to get a score prediction from you. I'm not going to hold it against you. But yeah, I want to get where your heart is at and where your head is at.
Okay. I want yours as well after. So my head says 4-2 to Arsenal. I say it'd be an open game. I think I've got a feeling we're going to go 2-0 up and just you're going to get angry and turn it around, and Arteta will go back to that football 2 years ago. I can see us scoring 2 goals and Ange just doesn't do what he should and losing 4-2. But my heart will say, 2-1 to Spurs, you know, but it's just my heart. I think we'll lose the game, to be honest. What about you?
I'm gonna go 3-2 Arsenal. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I don't think we're gonna pull away, and I don't think you're gonna go 2-0 up. I think it's gonna be a bit tit for tat. I think Spurs will score first. I think that will spark something in us because it'll be do or die time. Obviously, a lot of that is going to be dependent on the score tonight between Liverpool and Forest, the two teams who are closest to us. But yeah, 3-2 Arsenal. I think Kai Havertz gets one. I think it's going to be, set pieces. I know Spurs with that back line, with our set piece dominance, if we get someone on the right side with Saka gone, I think that's going to be a problem. It was a problem in the reverse fixture at the Spurs stadium. That was with your first choice defense. I think this makeshift defense, it's going to take a lot of coordination to be able to withstand that. I know we've lost our second best deliverer of the ball as Saka, but I think Rice is probably the best at the club anyway. So if we get some down his side, I can see us making you pay from that position.
Yeah, And he's been a standout in recent North London derbies, Saka. He's cooked us at White Hart Lane a few times, and even in the Emirates, he's really got that factor in this game. So yeah, him being out is a big plus for us. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting one, man. I look forward to seeing the game, and hopefully, if Ange does it, if he somehow does this, then wow.
Yeah.
Wow, the pressure's really
I think
on.
it's curtain for Arteta.
Would you be? I know you're not an Arteta fan, but do you think the fans will turn? Like the most of the fans will turn if somehow Spurs win this?
I really do think the pressure will become much more mainstream if he doesn't even draw. If he draws the game, I think the pressure will become noticeably greater on him. I think you'll start to see the bookies move the odds on him getting the boot. Even though Arsenal are notoriously late movers on these kind of things, they're not very pragmatic or proactive when it comes to making these sorts of decisions. I think they're a lot more patient and, wait until the wheels have totally fallen off. But I can definitely see it kind of marking the beginning of the end if this week hasn't already. But yeah, man, it'll be very interesting to see how that pans out. But look, man, we will have to get you on more often. I know we've been meaning to. Really appreciate you making some time today.
No problem, man. Good to see you as always, bro.
And yeah, bro, we're gonna definitely catch up after the game tomorrow and see who came closer with their prediction.
Yeah, man, definitely. Well, have a good one, man, and I'll see you guys soon.
You too.
Take care.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And yeah, stay tuned for more Gabos. Check us out on TikTok. We're moving numbers up there. And yeah, man, keep it locked. Peace.